Andrew Tate's message and the things that he says to young men and the lifestyle that he says is the ideal for men. It's wrong. It's completely wrong. It's absolutely wrong. You will never fill the bottomless pit in your heart with stuff because stuff doesn't do anything. You can't have a connection to stuff. You can't feel those emotions continuously, sustainably. You get a car and then you get an elevation of joy for a little bit, but then your brain always settles down. What is it that we need? We need connection. We need purpose. Again, as I said earlier, millionaires kill themselves. Billionaires kill themselves. That should be a dead giveaway that the money is not the thing. It is a side effect of good discipline, working on something that matters and brings value to people and benefits the world, hopefully. And, I don't believe that running a can business benefits the world in any way. I think it's exploitation and it's wrong, but it's legal. And so it is what it is. I'm not a fan of it. But let's listen a little bit to what Matt Walshs has to say because people are just so confused about what it is to be a man and what the ideal lifestyle and purpose for a man is. So let's have a quick look at this. And then I will give my final thoughts. After, of course, it starts buffering and I don't have to sit through an ad the whole time because, honestly, I don't think that buying cars and stuff is the ideal male lifestyle, nor is sleeping with lots of women. That is not the ideal lifestyle, in my mind, at least, because you'll never have enough. You'll never have enough.
This argument was summarized in a comment from a listener named Joshua, which I'll read because I think it just is representative of this sort of a mentality. He says, still sounds like Matt and most tradcons' definition of what masculinity means is exclusively through the lens of women and children's wants and needs. Unfortunately, that ideal will no longer work in the modern world with birth control, hookup culture, social media, and court systems that favor women and the denigration of traditional masculinity. I don't agree with all of Tate's views, but it sure beats Matt's prescriptions for young men. Mm-hmm. Again, I've read a great many comments making the same kind of point. A private message from another listener has a similar theme. It says, Matt, I agree with many of your opinions, but your message to men is off base. Young men follow Andrew Tate because his lifestyle is the ideal, whether you admit it or not. Wealth, fame, status, beautiful women were biologically programmed to want those things. Marriage is a losing game. The only solution in modern society is to reject the life of service, as you call it. So what is the problem with this view? Well, to begin with, it's nothing less than a full, unconditional surrender to the culture. Mm-hmm. It's true that the culture has increasingly made it difficult for both men and women to form and maintain strong, intact, lasting families.
Yes.
And that's because the elites who run our society don't want you to live that kind of life. Mm-hmm. They prefer that you focus on your individual wants, on fulfilling your own needs and satisfying your own desires. That's what they prefer for you. That's the life they want for you. A self-focused life is precisely the sort of life they wish for you.
Which will never
Makes it easier to manipulate. Mm-hmm. Less of a threat to their agenda. Not really a threat at all. I mean, if you're just out there focused on yourself, being a consumer, buying lots of things for yourself, consuming things for yourself, and all the rest of it, you're not a threat to their agenda at all. I mean, you're going along with it.
Yeah.
All of the things mentioned by Joshua in his comment, all of those things represent a conspiracy against the family. He's right about that. Mm-hmm. The way the family court systems are set up, birth control, all the rest of it. It's an attack on the family.
Yeah,
so what is the answer? To give up? To give the conspirators exactly what they want? To reward them for their efforts by turning your back on the very thing they've been assaulting for decades?
No.
The family is the fortress that they have been attacking. And you can defend it with your life, or you can wave the white flag. But if you choose to...
Exactly. And honestly, I don't understand this mentality where just give up on, those things. Yes, it is risky. It is hard to have a family. I'm not going to sit here and deny and be like, oh no, that the court systems aren't messed up and women don't take advantage of men. It's like, no, there's nothing wrong. Yeah, there's a lot of things wrong. But let me propose this to you, okay? In the alpha-based community, we're always taught, you got to discipline yourself. You got to be committed. You got to focus. You got to work ridiculously hard, and you got to take big risks to get big rewards. No pain, no gain. Big risk, big reward. Discipline yourself and commit. Take a big risk. Start that company. Commit and work hard. Get the reward with all the money. Get the cars. Take a risk. Ask the girl out. See if you can sleep with her and get that reward. Get the car and stuff. But then, when it comes to love and marriage, they're like, oh, well, it's too risky. The court systems, feminism, and, all of the women there. He's like, really? I find it so odd that the alpha male community, or the base, or the red pill community, as some might call it, are like so dedicated to taking risks and getting their money up and working hard, except for when it comes to love. When it comes to love and actually committing to another person, well, that's too big of a risk. We gotta run away. And we gotta fill ourselves up with all kinds of money and cars that will never actually be enough, so we just have to keep getting more. And who are we paying for all of this stuff? The Matrix? The elites? It's all a hyper distraction. Essentially, you're becoming like an elite pawn. You know, you become a millionaire, you're just buying all these cars and all this stuff. You're not, okay, yeah, you're not a sheep anymore. You're an elite sheep. You're a special sheep. You've moved up the ranks of the playpen that they built for you. And you're still probably not happy. Because none of that stuff makes you happy. Why do you think you have to keep getting more? And so, studies show that those who have sex with multiple partners have a harder time pair bonding. And so it doesn't make any sense to me. And let's hop over to something that Patrick Bet-David said, because I really want to drive home the point that running away from love is not the answer to all of the different problems that society has and how you are feeling as a young man. It's not the answer to just not risk love. So let's have a look at what Patrick David had to say. The U.S. has the highest rate of children living in single-parent households of any nation on the world. About 80% of single-parent homes are led by single mothers. At a rate of 23% of children living with one parent and no other adults, the United States stands over 3 times the world average of 7% of children raised by one parent. For reference, the number stands at 3% for China and 4% for India. Even for children with a father present in the home, the average school-age boy only spends about 30 minutes per week in one-to-one conversations with his father. For comparison, the same boy on average will spend about 44 hours per week watching television, playing video games, and surfing the internet. And we wonder why, people are so dumb and ridiculous nowadays. Moving on, 90% of homeless and runaway children, 63% of teen suicides, and 85% of children and teens with behavioral disorders come from fatherless homes. Fatherlessness likewise has a direct link to teen pregnancy and sexual activity. Roughly 70% of teenage pregnancies come from women raised in fatherless homes, and these same women have significantly higher abortion rates than women raised by both a father and a mother. Where am I? On the whole, fatherless kids are 20 times more likely to be incarcerated and 11 times more likely to exhibit violent behavior than the children from two-parent households. If a man and a wife raise a child, they're less likely to end up in jail, but they have the same chance as children raised by just their fathers. Girls with no fathers have lower self-esteem. We can lower crime, lower mental issues, help the economy, lower suicide rates, decrease homelessness by bringing back the family nucleus. I absolutely 100% agree. And so if you really want to make a difference in life, don't run away from love and don't run away from committing to the one thing that can actually make the world a better place. Buying more Lamborghinis won't fix the economy. It won't help the next generation of men. You know what will help the next generation of men and help them not suffer from all of the oppression that you're under, the court systems and feminism and whatever? Having fathers who stick around and be there for them and don't run off and have lots of affairs with lots of other women and break up their family and, break their mom's heart and stuff. Having fathers will make the world a better place. And so, I want to end this with, I'm going to tell you guys what I said to myself a year ago, because a year ago I was working really, really hard. I've always been on this get money, get in shape, become a YouTuber, get famous journey. And I was so concerned that falling in love and committing to a woman would actually conflict with that I can only have one or the other. I can either marry somebody and start a family, or I could pursue my dreams of being a YouTuber, public speaker, motivational speaker, and all of that jazz. Apparently, I believe that I couldn't have both, that I had to be committed to one or the other. And I was really leaning towards, I don't want to get a woman because I want to be committed to my dream. I don't want to have to sacrifice that. And I used all sorts of logic, like, oh, if I marry a woman and then don't achieve my dreams, I'm just going to resent her and it's going to be a miserable marriage. Things like that. However, I'm going to say this to my past self. I'm not saying it to you guys. If you disagree with me, that's fine. I'm not saying this to you necessarily. I'm saying this to my past self. And I say this just because of how harsh it's going to sort of be. You're a freaking coward. You are a freaking coward. You talk about taking big risks and putting in the hard work and disciplining yourself. Well, you know what? A real alpha can achieve his dreams and raise a good family at the same time. A real alpha can satisfy himself and a woman at the same time. The truth is that you are not oppressed. Women are not the issue. Society is not the issue. You have a discipline issue. You lack the discipline and the strength to be committed to one woman and work your butt off achieving your dreams at the same time. You lack the discipline to manage that time, manage the emotions, and manage the work and the time needed to do that. You have a discipline issue. It's very un-alpha. It's a very beta male excuse to just chase money in hopes to fill you up, to fill that hole in your heart, because actually having a family and purpose would be too hard or too risky. That's a very lame excuse. You have a discipline issue. Feminism, whatever, yeah, it's all whack. The woke left is ruining everything, yeah. You don't have to be a victim of that and settle. You can have meaning, happiness in life, and love, and achieve your dreams. But it takes discipline. And a lot of you are just making these lame excuses because you lack the discipline to do that, but you don't want to admit that to yourself because you think you're an alpha. Right? You've told yourself that I'm this alpha male. I got guns. I got like $100,000 at the bank. I got a Mustang, and I'm an alpha. It's like, hooray! Look at me. And why? Because you're still insecure. You're trying to get other people's attention. You're trying to get affirmation from other men and women instead of just being secure within yourself and not having to prove anything. You have to walk around and say that you're an alpha. Real alphas don't need to tell people that they're alphas. They just do stuff and then people are impressed. Okay? So this is ridiculous. This is silly. So obviously I'm not saying that every single man needs to get married and have kids. I'm not a Catholic like Matt Walshs is, more of a evangelical type. I don't believe that everyone has to have a family. Not everyone is meant to be a father. Some people are meant to be single, and that's better for them. But this whole trend of running away from marriage and fatherhood because feminism makes it too hard for us to hold a family together, so we're just going to go get money and satisfy ourselves that way. Like, you're ultimately going to end up in the same place as them. Right? Like, women are rejecting motherhood to pursue a career, and eventually they're going to end up sad, alone at 60 and 70 because they didn't have any kids and no one's looking after them. And they're going to feel empty inside. You're going to suffer the same fate. You're going to suffer the same fate. I find it so fascinating that the left and the right, the woke and the base community, they kind of operate on the same logic. It's like, whoa, the other side is making it too difficult for me to have a family and accomplish my dreams, so I'm just going to ditch having a family and go accomplish my dreams. They're both going to be miserable. You're all going to be miserable together, and you're all going to blame each other. When in reality, you have a discipline problem. Those are my thoughts on, the current state of the culture. And yes, I understand that the system is messed up. I'm not denying any of that. I'm not denying that the woke has gone too far. I'm not denying that the court system is messed up. I'm not denying that Andrew Tate said some good things. I'm not denying that, there's a lot of nuance and gray areas to the stuff, and I do not claim to know everything about it. But it seems to me that we're running to the wrong thing to fill us up inside and to make our lives as men meaningful and purposeful. And so what I would recommend is to not make money your only goal in life, because, again, millionaires kill themselves all the time. So it's obviously ain't it.